Pom 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 pom.
You're done?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not again. Oh, Jesus Christ. Really? Hello? Hello?
Don't need the phone.
Hello?
Hello, mate. How you doing? You good? You well? How's family? We all good, are they?
Yeah, all good.
It's me.
Who?
It's me. Guess.
I don't know.
It's me, and I want an apology. It's me.
It's me.
It's
What?
me, mate.
Dad?
It's me.
Who?
Paulinho. It's me, Paulinho. I used to play at Spurs. I got the accent whilst I was there. Then moved on to make more money than you could ever imagine in your entire life.
You let me down.
Well,
loads.
that's not the point, Flav. Right? It's the end of the year. It's the year of the comeback, right? No bigger comeback than Paulinho. Yes, I'm talking myself in the third person, but that's what you do, right? I was a joke at Spurs, right? And I've rebuilt my career. I've rebuilt my career. Oh yes, I've now got this speech impediment, but I've got to the biggest club in the world of football, Barcelona, yeah?
Yeah.
And I'm banging in the goals. 16 games to 6 goals. And you, son, you need to apologise down the phone so I can get on with the rest of my Christmas period.
That is beautiful. I'm very sorry, Paulinho. You was wrong. I was wrong. You were right. You are right.
Glad you are.
And best of luck with Barcelona.
Is that it, is it?
Hope you stuff Chelsea.
Is that it?
Yeah, you owe us because you were proper shit at Spurs. I don't know what's happened in your life to turn around. I'm happy, but you owe me an apology because I spent a lot of money going to watch you play.
You, son, right? Not happy with that apology. Not good enough, yeah? I'll be back after the World Cup and then I want a bloody good apology because that, son...
Alright, put the phone down. I'll put the phone down.
Are you still... Oh, he's gone.
That's your Paulinho impression, is it?
That sounds exactly like
well,
Have you ever heard him talk?
No.
It sounds exactly like
Could
that.
well talk like
He
that.
sounds exactly like that.
It sounds like
It's a
he's
brief
watching.
period at Spurs.
Good.
One for the Weekend podcast. It's the Christmas period, and we're going to look back on the things. Good Christmas.
Yeah, I
Was
mean,
it good?
Was it?
Was it good?
Because it's Boxing Day coming.
No, it's already done, but yeah, it's Boxing Day games and all those games. 28th from the 28th of December. How was your Christmas? You get everything you wanted?
No, what I'm saying is Boxing Day is done. Yeah? I don't think about Christmas. I'm looking on to next year now.
Been and gone.
It's
Fair
done.
enough.
Yeah.
We're going to look back at the year of 2017, remembering when certain things were happening. We've got a whole list to talk about. Previewing some of the games that are taking place.
Yep.
Got a lovely little trivia question, and we're going to discuss the things that we've learned in 2017.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Mm.
You might think that you haven't learnt stuff in 2017, but you have.
Yeah.
You have. Don't worry about it. We're going to reveal all on today's One for the Weekend podcast. This is a podcast that's on iTunes. You can find it there by searching Long Ball Street. Done?
No.
It's you can also search One for the Weekend and you'll find it there. And it's brought to you by Family, the lovely people at Family. They're building the world's #1 football community. They sponsor this podcast and they've got a wicked app that has very cool stats. So you can write down your profession, you can write down the club that you support, and you can find out if you're better than the rest at predicting, right? The reason this is cool is there are 5 QPR fans on the app. Who's #1, Flav?
You.
Jimmy Alcott, Adam, Robert Bunker, Jeppy Bridolph,
Mugs.
and Stephen Olivier. You're all mugs.
Mugs.
Alright? I'm the #1 sports pundit, that's what I put down in terms of profession, on the game. That's ahead of Mr. Stephen Howson. That's ahead of Rory Jennings. Both of you. Mugs.
Howson was giving it the big one when he was on the podcast a few weeks ago, wasn't he? It's like, oh yeah, can you find out that information for me?
I'll
Yeah,
find out for you.
Howson was he's giving it the big one, giving it all the half edges, and where is he now?
You haven't put your team down, so that's not good for you. But your global ranking
Yeah, you ready for this, gentlemen?
is your 1,523rd.
I mean, needs work.
Yeah.
Needs work, yeah.
I'm 137.
Yeah.
So.
Alright.
And I'm the 110th best British person.
But I am. Oh, I've lost it, damn. Alright, forget it, doesn't matter.
Don't worry.
Right. Go on then, carry on with the podcast.
Yes.
But yeah, go and download the app. It's the link is in the description below. And
Absolutely.
if you need to look in the App Store, just type Fan League, all one word, in the App Store and you'll get it. And then come and join it. Join Jimmy Alcott, add James Alcott, ALLOTT,
C-O-T-T.
A-double-T-O-double, what?
ALLCOTT.
COTT.
And I will add you to our league, and you can help us rise the ranks.
Add me as well, please, Flav.
Not as crucial as adding me.
FLAV.
Just to be clear. Right, let's first of all, let's go back for a second. Paulinho.
Yes.
Is there anyone else you feel like deserves an apology this year? Is there anywhere else that you got it wrong, or a club where you got it wrong? Mourinho. This time last year we did a video and we spoke about Mourinho, and you said Mourinho would get sacked.
Yeah.
At the end of the season.
What do I know? I know nothing. I absolutely know nothing. Yeah, I mean, I mean, if he doesn't win the league, and it's not his fault really because Man City are so good, but they've spent a lot of money, too much money to finish second.
Yeah.
And it looks like Pep Guardiola's Man City are going to be a force to be reckoned with for as long as Guardiola's going to stay there, because the checkbook isn't going to dry up. So what do Man United do in this instance? And what does Jose? Does he double down? Does he just keep spending and hoping that he somehow figures out how to pick the lock, the Pep Guardiola lock, or does he? Are Man United fans and the club just happy with being second now? Because it seems to be that's going to be the way. All you would say is that it is very, very hard to win back-to-back trophies, league titles. True. We've seen that happen. Teams have Chelsea stormed away with the league. I think they won it. Craig, when Chelsea won the league you won it twice in a row, didn't you? Mm-hmm. Was one of those years the one you had the record points total? Yeah. The first time.
2004-05. Yeah.
Well, there you go. So there you go. They've won it, and then they won it again. But no one's won it 3 times since Huddersfield, I think, in 1927. Something
really?
like that, yeah.
Oh, that's right. But anyway, I don't know who I would apologise to. Maybe, I think the only beef I've had this year has been with Shakespeare.
Maybe Man United did it 3 times.
Man United did 3 times, I think.
Yeah. It's very hard.
It's so tough to get. It really is.
So we'll see how good Man City are in 3 years' time.
Yeah, maybe Shakespeare's probably the only one I really lost my rag with. I wasn't happy with the way it was set up. Apparently I was wrong with that. Apparently I wasn't stabbing him in the back. It was just the scapegoat for my anger at the Claudio Ranieri lack of respect. So go on then, Craig. I'm sorry. All right, I apologise. You're now working under Big Sam at Everton, so you've it's not worked out for you either. You've been struck. What's that? Is that Craig Shakespeare?
Yeah.
He has an impression.
No, it's Craig Shakespeare
right.
with 2 balls under his arms. Always love 2 balls. Whatever. Go and have a look now, or if you're on a computer or on your phone, go and have a look and type in Craig Shakespeare into Google. Every photo he has 2 footballs under his arms.
Really?
Always. I don't know whether it's a comfort thing. I don't know.
Brilliant. The one thing I'm sure a lot of sports writers are gutted that Shakespeare's no longer in the public eye, because he's a dream for kind of headlines. Is he? With Shakespeare as the second one. It's helpful, isn't it?
Yes.
Trivia, football trivia. Last week we asked you this question.
Did you have one? Midsummer Nightmare. Midsummer Night's Mare.
Yeah.
Like that
you couldn't write it, says Shakespeare. You'd have to say that though, wouldn't you? So again, doesn't work. Let us know better Shakespeare headlines in the comments below. Last week we asked you this question. 6 players have won the Scottish Premier League and the English Premier League. Who are they?
So I got Keane and Kanchelskis.
Keane and Kanchelskis was correct. The others were Henrik Larsson.
Yes.
Chris Sutton.
Yep.
Giovanni Van Bronckhorst.
Arsenal, Rangers.
Correct. And
Chris Sutton would have been Blackburn and Celtic.
Blackburn and Celtic,
yeah.
He didn't win it with Chelsea, did he? Roy Keane, Man United, Celtic. Larson, Man United, Celtic.
I like doing that bit.
Sorry.
What's the other one?
Oh, last one, Colin Hendry.
Blackburn and Rangers.
Was it Rangers? Yeah. So there you have it. So those are the 6 players who've got a Premier League winners medal and a Scottish Premier League winners medal.
What's the question this week?
This
is my favourite part of my entire week.
You spend the rest of the week trying to figure this one out. So let us know in the comments below this is tough. This is the toughest one we've done, I think. Which 4 players from Romania, Switzerland, Ukraine and Uruguay have won Premier League medals? There's only one person from each country. Of those 4 countries. So I'll say it again for you. Romania, Switzerland, Ukraine and Uruguay. There's only one from each country. Who are they?
Right, there's Gustavo Poyet from Uruguay.
Forlan is the Uruguay.
Okay, and Christian Fuchs.
Christian Fuchs is Austrian.
Oh, not Swiss.
No, but you've got the right team for one of them. You've got the right team from there's a Leicester person.
Romania.
Romania, Switzerland, the Ukraine,
Adrian Mutu
and Uruguay. No, the Romania one is. They are tough.
Dan Petrescu.
They are very tough. Dan Petrescu is not it. You're just naming people you know who are Romanian.
Yeah.
Name me one more person who's Romanian. He's played in the Prem.
Gica Popescu. Ili Dimitrescu.
Nice.
Well, there's 2 more for you.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah.
Ratatouille.
Ratatouille, yeah. West Ham. Jesus,
Right, let's get straight into Those Were the Days. Early Those Were the Days.
Just a little bit of things. Is is in prison now. Gica Popescu, ex-Spurs, ex-Barcelona.
What happened to him?
I think fraud.
Really?
I'm just making that up though, I don't know. Money laundering.
Money laundering?
Yeah, I think so.
You're throwing stuff at this guy.
I don't know, Google it, mate.
It's dangerous, mate.
He's in prison, so there's not much.
Might get a bit of libel, you don't want that. Okay. Those were the days. So these are moments that you miss in football. As specific as possible, please, in the comments if you want them to be read out. So here's a few, just to warm the cockles.
Yeah.
On a, what are the cockles when you warm them?
I think it's just it's a sex. It's part of your testicle.
Okay. Good to know. Right, the little man, big man combo.
Oh, yeah. Give me some. Crash the phone.
Well, do you know what? Initially, I nearly went, another one for you here, Craig. Do you remember when John Spencer, Mark Stein and Gavin Peacock were the strikers for Chelsea? I'm really showing my age here, and a lot of you... Another thing to Google. Put this on your Google list, which we're slowly creating today on One for the Weekend. But they had Mark Stein was about 5'6", maybe. John Spencer was about 5'5", and Gavin Peacock, who was 5'7", and they were the strikers for Chelsea back in like 94 or something like that.
Yeah.
95, 96.
Yeah.
But the big man, small man combo, I thought that might be a bit more up to
Well, give me one other than Crouch to the Foe.
Niall Quinn and Kevin Phillips
Yes.
are probably one of the most potent
that
we've seen.
Love it.
For QPR, you had you would have loads, wouldn't you? But that would be the thing, wouldn't it? You'd have 2 up the top because you had 4-4-2.
So
you had Heskey and Owen.
Heskey and Owen, yeah. About Ferdinand, because Ferdinand could leap as high as a big man.
Only 5'11".
Yeah, wasn't necessarily the biggest.
Yeah.
Who would he play when he was at Leicester?
Gary Penrice.
Or
Bradley Allen would be chucked in there as well. I'm trying to think of a few others. Who at Spurs would you have? You had Crouchy with whoever.
Crouch and Defoe,
and others.
So Sheringham was always our kind of that version, our target man. Sheringham was always our target man.
So did you have to play a little bit different?
Yeah, we just played sexy, silky football.
And
didn't need to pump it long to some sort of average centre forward who was bigger than everyone else.
Fair enough. Sticking with Spurs, Spurs having more centre midfielders than Sense. Do you remember that?
Yeah. So we had Timo Tainio, Steve Davis. That is that period, right?
Yeah.
Steve Davis, Carrick.
What was the thought process there? There was I think you had Danny Murphy, you had Sean Davis.
Yeah, Danny Murphy.
You had Simon Davies. Carrick.
Yeah.
Edgar Davids.
Yeah.
It was just, it went on and on.
So this was a period where Martin Jol took over at Spurs, and so Jack Santini took over at Spurs with Martin Jol as his number 2, and Frank Arneson as a sporting director.
Oh yeah, Frank Arneson.
Wow. Came in and changed. He was the first person responsible for where Spurs are now. Levy brought him in. He brought in, I would say, 16 players, all significantly better. Well, the vast majority significantly better we had in the squad at the moment. It changed Tottenham's different ethos. Winning mentality came in.
Kappa shirts, wasn't it?
That's kit. Right. Kappa shirts sort of thing. So
more streamlined.
Yeah, we it was at that point, and he just brought in loads of quality. Essentially, well, we were so bad that it kind of got to a point. Jamie Redknapp would have been another centre back.
Out of all those, Jamie Redknapp, as well. Out of all those centre backs, who we now know are centre midfielders that we all know were mediocre at best. Who were you really excited about?
Carrick was incredible at Spurs, and it started off you couldn't get in the team in the bench. I think we started with Davies and Davids in midfield. Carrick was clearly head and shoulders above anyone else in the team. It was when he left for Man United. I think it was like 28 million, a lot of money at the time. It was that point I realised that was the first really gutted feeling I had about losing a player, because he was class, absolute class.
And the final one for Those Were the Days this week. Again, let us know yours in the comments below. Are the first one tackle excuse? Don't have that anymore. So you used to be able to, in the first 5 minutes, maybe in the first half, essentially, you'd make a tackle, you'd miss the ball, take out the man, letting them. That's a good one as well. Letting them know you're there. That's something that Phil Neville was a connoisseur of that.
Yeah.
But you were allowed one.
Yeah.
You're not allowed one anymore.
I don't know. I mean,
do you think
Dembele went through the back of De Bruyne a couple of weeks ago when Spurs played against Man City, which would have been a booking most instances, but it was his first go refereeing up to him like that. Even De Bruyne. I tell you what I don't like about modern football in the last 10 years or so is imaginary cards.
But become okay that.
Is it okay?
No, I'm not saying it is okay, but it's seen a lot. Now,
I still think it winds fans up.
Yeah, definitely. But it was seen as if one person did it, that was outrageous.
Yeah.
Whereas it's just kind of
does the referee go up to the players and go, why don't you do a couple more step overs there?
Yeah.
Or doesn't he go to tell him to do let him do his job. It's nothing to do with you whether he got a card or not. You little.
Okay.
Not be fan.
Would you? Do you think it's okay for there to be, for you to be allowed one? Yeah. Because other people will say that if it's a bad tackle in the first minute or it's a bad tackle in the 90th minute, it doesn't matter. The fact is, it's a bad tackle and that's going to affect the game. The fact that there's time involved should not mean anything.
I understand that. I mean, in pure black and white, if you commit a foul that's worthy of a yellow card, doesn't matter when it happens, it should be a yellow card. But that's not the way we do things in England. And I quite like that. It's important to hold on to some of the traditions of English football, right, and not just let all of it go down the pan.
And the first one, tackle excuse.
First one, that's what you want.
First one.
It's fine.
Would that work in other walks of life?
Yeah, but he's got broken legs. It was my first one.
It was my first one.
Yeah. It does work in walk of life. If your first offence in a court of law, you generally get being treated with leniency.
True.
This is my first armed robbery. It's my first one. All right.
Slap someone around the face. It's my first one.
What, you send me to prison? Nah. I mean, but nah.
Yeah.
So no, fine with that. It's a tradition in English football. None of this like fancy waving your hands. If you don't like it, go and play in another country. All right.
Lovely. What a lovely Christmas message.
Just the great thing about football is that you can talk about it. In any other walk of life, you're talking about people as a nation, you'd come across as the most bigoted, racist idiot. But with football, you're like, don't like it, don't play in this country. Is that
a good thing about thing? Now, when you've created that context, I don't want to say. Okay, so I'm staying away from
We talk about Arsenal. We talk about Arsenal people who support Arsenal and say, look, you shouldn't even be here. Get back to where you came from.
Yeah.
I would never dream of saying that to someone of another ethnicity, obviously. But when it comes to football fans, get back where you came from.
And
you
lot, return.
Your sort are not welcome here.
That's
how I feel about Arsenal fans.
Tricky ground. We're going to discuss things that really have changed in 2017 and things that we've learned as well. But first, let's just go through a couple of games. One game in particular. The fixtures this week, no huge games as you would naturally, we would say. But one game that did stand out to me was Huddersfield versus Burnley. The reason for saying that is because 2017 has been an unbelievable year for both of those clubs. And I think for a QPR fan, it gives you a bit of hope to see the likes of Huddersfield do what they did. I was there at the playoff final. We've got a wicked video that you can see on the Ball Street channel where Matt, the owner of Ball Street, who'd been on such a journey with Huddersfield, not expecting them to do what they did, to get to the playoff final. And we went to that and we were able to capture his emotions and I saw Matt in a way that I've never seen him before. The kind of he's got a big heart, Matt, but to see how much it meant to him was incredible.
Yeah, it was.
It's been an amazing year.
I love that video. I love that, and we've all gone through that journey with him. We've seen how much it meant to him, and he, despite him playing it down, saying he never wanted to get to the Premier League, of course he did. Everybody wants to experience that, and if you're not in it, even if you don't want to be in the Premier League and all the trappings that come with that division, to experience the glory in that moment is what it's all about.
Yeah,
and it just goes to show actually, it's just one. QPR are one managerial appointment away. I know, but this is why you need to let go of this Holloway loving, because you're one managerial decision away from a genuine Premier League charge. Yes, you are.
I disagree.
Disagree.
You don't know my club.
Ian Holloway isn't going to get you into. Well, if you're happy, that's fine, and so you should be. It's a good little football club, nice little football club. but ultimately, you got to look at changing, because that's what. Huddersfield made an excellent appointment in Wagner. They didn't know, they gambled, but they made a great appointment. It has no bearings on Huddersfield or interest in Huddersfield at all before this time. And he got them up. And, if you want to sample that again, and I'm sure you do, because that means you'll have some sort of relevance on these sort of shows. Seriously, no one cares about the Championship.
Oh my God.
I'm just winding you up.
Yeah, no, I know. No, on my terms though. I want it on my terms. I don't want Harry Redknapp to take us up. I want our David Wagner. Ian Holloway is our David Wagner.
No, he's not.
He is. He's the guy.
Ollie is, as much as I do really like him, he's a funny guy. Funny doesn't get you to the Premier League.
Okay. Anyway, with Huddersfield and Burnley, I think the other thing you've got to commend for Huddersfield is what Matt was scared of was Huddersfield coming into the Premier League and getting walloped week in, week out. And of course, they're not right at the top, but they've held their own so far, and they're in a position that I'm still not completely sure that they'll make it, that they'll stay up. And that's a different thing that fans have got to contend with when you've had a season where it's all gone your way and you've won all these games, kind of acclimatising to the slog of being the underdog in every single game of football. But it's still a great ride for Huddersfield, and 2018 will be, if they can hang on, if this time next year, if they're still in the Premier League, that is still the only thing that matters to them, and I think they've just done brilliantly. And Burnley they are established.
Yeah.
It will be interesting to see how long they can stick around in the Premier League, regardless of the fact that they've completely overachieved this year, because it feels like Sean Dyche is everything to that club.
Yeah, absolutely. But then you could have said the same about Watford, and they've changed managers every single year. That said, they found a system that works for them. At Burnley, Sean Dyche is the man. I think he will eventually get tapped up. In the same way that for Bournemouth, Eddie Howe is the man. I think with Burnley though is that they've been flirting with the Premier League for a while. They've been in and around that since coming up. I think it must have been about 2011, 2012. They had 1 year in the Premier League, then they went down. Then they come back up, and there's kind of they kind of understand what it takes to stay up.
Yeah.
And with a manager like Dyche, it isn't incredible football. It's sometimes seemingly desperate, although there is a clear plan to what they're doing. The way they block and choose to defend, it seems quite desperate, but it was working for them. They don't create a huge amount of chances, but again, it's working for them. It's about delivering when you have to. The problem is that can potentially dry up.
Yeah.
It's quite a risky way to play, but it's working for them.
Go.
I'm just curious to know who you think's had a better year
than
Burnley or Huddersfield. Whose supporters would be happier? It's got to be Huddersfield, isn't it?
Oh, out of those two, I mean Huddersfield were not expected to do anything last year.
5th lowest budget in the whole of the Championship.
Yeah. And it does give you hope as a team in the Championship that hasn't got money anymore. You've got to find another way of doing it, and with the loan system, the way they used it last year, it's got them up. And then now they've got up, then they've been able to spend a bit more money, and it can still be done. Both getting into the Premier League and then having a bit of a crazy ride in a season as well with Burnley. We're going to get onto what we've learnt this season, and I think one of those things that we've learned does revolve around money, but I really hope that Burnley can keep it going next year and kind of maybe somehow finish surely they can't finish top 6, but if they did, that again just gives hope to the rest of the league.
Can you imagine if they get into the Europa League and they draw, I don't know, they get like a plum tie like Atletico Madrid and they have to go to Turf Moor? This is a Thursday night. It's miles to get to. It's a bloody nightmare to get to and get away from. It's a horrible little old school stadium, beautifully romantic, proper it's Yorkshire, isn't it? I'm pretty sure Burnley's Lancashire, right?
In trouble for that.
I don't give a shit.
Right. Looking into next year, another couple of games here. Crystal Palace versus Arsenal. Of the top teams, who do you think is going to finish bottom out of those guys? Who would you be worried about if you were sort of a fan of each of those teams? Which one do you think is going to struggle the most? Because for me, out of those top 6 sides, because for me, I think it's going to be Arsenal that are going to drop back further. From a neutral's perspective, I just think it's the same. It's the same story in terms of the problems that they have. I feel like there's a lack of motivation there now, because the general idea is that people are waiting for them to slip up. I might be completely wrong.
I mean, they're waiting because they love the furore around every single point lost.
But there's got to be a lot of Arsenal fans who are just sick of that, right?
Sick of what?
Sick of the negative vibes around the entire club.
I'm sure it's kind of poisonous. And do you know what? I'm sure many Arsenal fans go to the game and they don't even pay any attention to it. But there is certainly a divide at their football club, and there has been for a long time. You know, we look at the YouTube channels and the videos that you see, and you think that is Arsenal's support. But most of them, you know, there's lots of fans out there and don't pay any attention to that. Go to the pub, watch the game, come home.
Yeah, true.
You know, so you got to think about how much of a issue is this at the club. But there is certainly something, because players talk about it. You know, there's constantly questions over Wenger's contract on whether or not he should renew and all the rest of it. So it's a bit of a circus, because it's great to see it when they lose, and that is going to have a negative impact. And ultimately, the only way they can solve it is by getting rid of Wenger.
Aside from Arsenal, who else would you worry about? Would you worry about Spurs?
I think we're all in it. We're all in that risk of finishing 7th or 6th, and you know, between us, I think Liverpool probably the best bet for that fourth spot, unfortunately, for me. And, you know, for Spurs fans and Arsenal fans. Just going forward, they look so exciting, so dangerous. We've talked about it many times, but Salah, Mane, Coutinho is a great front three, and then Firmino in that false 9. It's incredible stuff. Defence is an issue. I think that's largely down to the way Klopp has set them up, and it's his problem. But it can be solved if he gets in a defensive coach that can give him a hand. There's certainly an issue there defensively, but I think Spurs are about to have a run of about 13 games against teams that you could easily pick them to win every single one of those.
Yeah.
Should we go on a 10-game winning streak, which is within us, then you're talking about a no contest for 4th.
Okay. A team that I'm a little bit worried about is Bournemouth. They've at the start of the season, you were hoping that they would kick on even more with the players that they brought in, but they do concede a lot of goals. And the reason I wanted to bring up Bournemouth was because of Eddie Howe.
Yeah.
Because I think one thing we've learned this year is, so we'll get on to the things that we've learned now. One thing I think we've learned is that we need more English managers in the Premier League, more young English managers in the Premier League.
Why?
Because I'll tell you why. Because the merry-go-round of the older guys is incredible,
right? But
it just carries on.
The managers that still have life in football as an English manager are those that can keep teams up. You know, you've seen the managers through the past that have had a chance at it, disappeared. Craig Shakespeare will probably never get another club again. Who's there? Blackburn.
Steve Keane.
Steve Keane won't manage again. Or probably hasn't. I don't know. Steve Cotterill. All these young English hope are those that can't do anything or can't keep a team in the Premier League. The ones that can keep getting jobs, like Allardyce, Pulis, Bardew. You know, these Hodgson. You know, these are players you can trust. Those managers to get to a certain level. I think the only one who has any kind of real merit and can compete against the European coaches is probably Sam Allardyce.
Your guy.
My guy.
Your guy.
So it is important for Eddie Howe to be able to do it and play attractive football and do it in a way that it isn't just about keeping teams in the Premier League. He will never really be able to do that at Bournemouth. Tiny football club, tiny budget, compared to that they're at a disadvantage every year because the revenue is nowhere near and they're constrained by FFP. You know, he's got a massive challenge each year to keep that team in the Premier League, and he does it. He has done it for the last 2 years. But
saying all that stuff, though, he's come in and you got him and Sean Dyche. Sean Dyche's done great, but you know the way that Burnley play, and so would that translate to another team? Eddie Howe, there was a great hope with him that the great football that they're able to play, if with better players, they're going to play even better football. What I'm a bit worried about with Bournemouth and therefore with Eddie Howe, because I want to see, again, it's a bit like you were saying earlier, you shouldn't be saying just focusing on English managers, but I want to see more English managers do well, because we do seem to have a sort of a lack of them.
Yeah, definitely.
Is that he's brought in Defoe, Nathan Ake, Begovic, all these players, and they don't seem to have improved at the moment.
Yeah.
So that has to be a worry.
But there's no guarantee. Yeah, it is a worry, definitely. And there's no guarantee that when buying in players that they're going to work. You have to buy them on the assumption that this is going to be a good thing for the football club, but sometimes it's a bad thing. Eddie Howe has done incredible by keeping Bournemouth, a club of their size, in the Premier League by playing football. Dyche has done something very different. You know, Eddie Howe had a stint at Burnley, and his ethos, he wasn't able to imprint that on the football club. He tried to get him playing football, it didn't work, and he left and went back to Bournemouth again, where there was already a structure for him to work upon, and this is it about going into new clubs and changing the identity of the football club. A very difficult thing to do. Burnley fans aren't used to seeing amazing football, but they're used to seeing results that are generally favourable at Burnley, at Turf Moor. So, to go in and start playing football and losing, that's not acceptable. And so, I think Eddie Howe has a huge... People look at him and judge him by what Bournemouth do and don't realise the actual extreme difficulty of the job he's doing. Okay. I think he deserves a job where he's allowed to have the players that could really flourish under his exciting football.
Yeah, but will he ever get that opportunity?
I think he will. Okay. Yeah, I think there's...
August 2018, we may see that, but I'm intrigued to see how long he will stay there.
If there's a club like Southampton, that'd be good. Southampton, you're talking about that level next. Southampton, Watford, anyone, any...
I think he's an Everton fan, isn't he, as well? So he's been linked with those jobs on occasion.
Right.
Let's talk about... This is kind of been the year of the comeback or the bounce back. We were sort of slagging off those older English managers, but they do stick around. Pardew got another job. Allardyce, at the start of this year, you will remember, was definitely unemployed after the whole England thing. He has come back not once but twice. Moisey has made it back, and he's got that little bit more respect now again after he kind of went even lower with Sunderland, but has bounced back as well. And then on the pitch, you've got Salah, who was considered not good enough for Chelsea. Has bounced back in the Premier League, gone to Liverpool and just been incredible. And obviously the greatest one of all, and I know he's been around for a little while, is De Bruyne, who's done the exact same thing. He's kind of, he was at Chelsea and it didn't work out, but he's back. He's bounced back to the Premier League after going to Wolfsburg and finding his feet. And all of these guys should go into the new year pleased, because they're probably in a better position now than certainly when they started the year.
Yeah, I mean, look, football's such a great thing because over time, anybody can change. That's why you're constantly proven wrong all the time, because the job that we do, we're constantly on camera, people are saying all kinds of different things. And it comes up and bites you on the arse, because that's the glorious thing about football. Form is such a temporary thing, both bad form and good form. There are logical reasons why De Bruyne was asked to leave. Apparently there was things going on inside the football club, that meant that he left there. Paulinho, his comeback has been something incredible, because again, among the worst footballers that I've ever seen at Spurs. Terrible. And he now is scoring braces for Barcelona.
Paulinho as well. We spoke about
it. So look, it's football's that's what's great. It's a weird, funny old game. Jimmy Greaves said that many years ago.
He did.
It's a funny old game.
3 final things that I want to talk about in terms of things that we've learned. I'll talk about in just a second. But first of all, it's just a bit of a list I've put together of do you remember when? Because, like we say, we are constantly wrong.
Yeah.
We are constantly wrong when it comes to football, and that's one of the good things. And also, we love those comeback stories as well. Those players or managers or clubs that it looks like it's done and dusted, but they sort of rise from the ashes and prove people wrong. That's something that hopefully won't change in football, and we can talk about that a little bit more in a sec. But these are a few things that I found. Do you remember when, on 1st of January, when Huddersfield were 4th in the Championship? We spoke about Huddersfield earlier in the season, but they were 4th in the Championship this time last season. Now, right there in the Premier League, first time since 1972. Incredible. Do you remember when Claudio Ranieri was still a god? It's turn of the year. He was still kind of seen as this guy who, like, finally we all loved him. He'd finally been given that chance. Quite quickly became a joke. That's the wave of, like, I mean, again, that's the industry that we work in. Is that everything's horrific or great?
Yeah,
it's difficult.
Ranieri's a strange one. It's because he deserves a lot more respect than he gets. He's seen as a bit of a joke because of the way he interviews. He's a bit odd. He's always been kind of like given this. He has like a weird way about him, and he's always been given like these monikers like the Tinkerman and Dilly Dally Dilly-O or whatever he said.
Tinkerman.
Do you remember he's called the
Tinkerman?
Tinkerman. Tinkerman.
It's like a surname.
Tinkerman.
My name's Claudio Tinkerman. Tinkerman.
The Tinkerman. And he, but if you look at his record, he's always done very well with most football clubs.
Yeah.
The period where he was sacked under Leicester was easily his worst period as a manager, and I think he's doing well at is it Nice?
Yes.
Yeah, so he's not doing too badly there. So, some people need to pour some respect on that name.
True. And the other side of it, do you remember when Iheanacho was the most exciting young talent in the Premier League?
I still think he's a good player there.
I don't doubt that he is a good player, but that shows the sort of the ups and the downs of being a pro footballer. Certainly being a striker, and especially in the modern game when there's so much discussion, it was him and Rashford. Who's better? Mm-hmm. If you don't stay at Man City, then you don't get the opportunities, you don't score the goals, and then you're not in the headlines.
Do you think? Do you blame players then for making the most out of periods in their career where they're on fire? You know, so if you get an opportunity to leave a club and sign for a Chinese club like Igalo did, you know, is that right? Igalo signed for a Chinese club, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he did. I think he went there. I think there's been a few guys that have gone. Oscar, Chelsea.
You can't blame these people because only around the corner you're out of form again. Like there was this time last year, Dele Alli was like the best young prospect in the world. Now everyone's debating whether or not he's that good at all.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's the constant up and down that you've got to deal with as a professional footballer. You've got to kind of hang in there. Another one who probably needs to hang in there. Do you remember when Berahino was an exciting option in January for those mid-table teams? He's also just cannot score a goal. He's struggled. Do you remember when no one knew who Gabriel Jesus was?
Yes.
I think we remember.
Yeah.
And that was just a year ago.
Is that a year ago? Yeah.
But I guess he's very lucky very lucky. He's obviously an incredible talent. But he's getting the opportunities at a great team. And so you never know if he makes that move. He needs to enjoy this period whilst he can because you never know when it's going to end for him.
Or injury or whatever, you know. So.
And do you remember when Chelsea were clearly the best team in the Premier League? They were unstoppable, and now they're somewhat stoppable.
Yeah.
And also, do you remember when we still weren't sure if Harry Kane was any good? So on the 1st of January, this tweet went out. He played his 100th game, and he'd had 341 shots. He'd created 100 chances and he scored 59 goals. But we still weren't sure if he was any good or not. And he played 100 games for Spurs. But now, at the end of 2017, there's no question that he is world class.
I think so. I think you get a different answer if you speak to Arsenal fans. But it's not just his goal scoring ability or his ability to hit the target or to be dangerous at all times. His actual footballing brain is very, very good. You know, he's somewhere between Shearer and Sheringham. Yeah. And he's not quite either, but there's touches of all of that in him, and it's because of the way he looks, the way he runs. He's a bit gamely. You know, the ball does seem to bounce off him, but he always seems to have control of it. So I think he hasn't got the silk of certain players. You know, I love watching Lanzini play, but Kane is much better. Do you know? I don't know,
substance versus style, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
And that's I mean, you know, bottom line, do you want who? What's more crucial to you, Dele Alli staying style or Harry Kane staying substance? It's Harry Kane, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes,
one and both.
Yeah.
Right. Final two things I feel like we should talk about, or three things. Sorry, that I feel like we've learned this season. This one's probably a bit up for grabs. The other two, I think we'll all kind of agree with. Let me know if you feel differently. Raheem Sterling for me is still just potential. He has scored. He has a great first half of the season with Man City. But every time we watch him, these goals, he scored one worldie. I can't remember who it was against, but he scored a lot of tap-ins. And watching him recently against Spurs, like he always has in his entire career, he gets into great positions, but his decision making and his finishing is still not there. Saying all of that,
he's 21.
He's 20. I think is he 21? Or is he a bit older? I think he's a tiny bit older than that. I'll Google it now. But I think he still has. If people can get off his back, he can be a huge difference to us because it's all kind of there. It's all about. He's 23.
23, is he?
Oh, yeah. Right. But he's still there. He is a kid.
Look, yeah, he is a kid, and he's got a player of his style. He doesn't have as long a career as most do. You know, his speed he relies on that massively. It's not like he's going to be able to revert into a kind of Pirlo-esque midfielder where he doesn't have to move too much. His movement and his pace is his key attribute. Okay. But with all players, you need the right environment in order to flourish in, and I think he has that now under Guardiola. And there's no better opportunity for him to fulfil all the potential than under Guardiola at City at this time. Same goes for all of those players. And you see, you often have the conversation about some players going to another club, and you go, well, why can't they replicate that form? Or why can't? Because the manager is the key. You know, the environment, the support network If you go into work and someone's going, you're good at your job, you do this excellent, and you go into another job where your manager says nothing to you, you're not going to perform as well. It's the same goes. These are human beings. So I think we're going to see Sterling reach that potential, whatever it is, and we'll see what kind of player he becomes. But I'm not,
I think the worry for me is
good player.
He's going to play in this team where it's just flowing and it's beautiful, and then he's going to have to
go to England. Yeah, he's going to struggle with that.
And there's going to be that same focus that there was in Euro 2016. There was this spotlight on him. People were expecting him to do something.
Yeah.
People were waiting for him to trip up.
And it won't happen. It won't happen again because, again, it's a different environment. Unless Southgate managed to replicate that, it won't happen. The same boring news stories will come out attacking Sterling. The same people on Twitter attacking Sterling because they believe that he should be replicating the form he does for Man City, when these people are clearly idiots because it takes so much more than just crossing that line and going onto the pitch.
Yeah, to do it. And the final two, one, Jose Mourinho hasn't changed a bit. This guy,
he's become worse.
He's do you know? He will never change, will he? No, I wondered if he would tweak. I wondered if he would tweak. He would mature maybe a little bit, but he still needs and loves and courts that siege mentality.
It can't be a nice way to live. Like, it can't feel nice to have that much negativity aimed at you, to have other managers hating you, to have negative things said about you. It doesn't matter how rich you are and how successful you become. There has to be a part of you that you have to carry that horrible kind of energy around.
Yeah.
But what I would say is I'm a big fan. I've said it before. Big fan of Mourinho. I like the fact that he winds up other people. I like the fact that he gets under the skin. He's a character, and that's what you want. Whether you hate the Joker, he has to be a part of that story, right?
Yeah.
So he's the villain, and that's his role, and he plays it brilliantly. There's some things though, like which I thought just were pathetic recently, was the whole Pep Jose fight and that thing about storming into a thing. Like that was perfect. It went on for ages, and what did they have? It was a scuffle at most, but because it's Guardiola and Jose, it became a massive story. That I found that very irritating. I was like ready for them both just to disappear and never have to think about them again.
Yeah, and I think it'll be the death of him, but it's also been the success of him as well. So we'll see.
Yeah.
And the last one for me, we were talking about in the office briefly, but we'll chat about it now for you guys. Is that money rules now more than ever? Leicester winning the league. It will not be. I mean, it will be seen. I think it will be seen again, but like once.
That is just the exception that proves the rule.
Yeah.
Yeah. Without if it was normal, you wouldn't have such things of like the money wouldn't be an issue in football, and there wouldn't be huge investment in football teams. The fact is that money brings success. And that's why investment takes place.
Yeah. And reflecting on this year, 2017, we now we're okay. You do keep acclimatising to the amounts of money that goes into football, because I think at the start of 2017 we would have gone 30 million for him, 40 million for that. Now it's just commonplace to kind of talk about these numbers.
Yeah.
And we will see if it will continue to rise, but certainly what I'm seeing here, and we did worry about it right at the start, was that the top. We had all those new managers turn up. 2 seasons, not this season, the season before, turn up, and everyone thought, right, okay, they mean business now, and they have meant business. They've spent so much money, and now I think you're seeing that Burnley, they're finding a way, but it is so defensive. It's survival based.
The likelihood is that they probably will slip away. I hope they don't. Do you know what I mean? It's refreshing to see. If you're a fan, it'll get to a stage where I don't understand why the Premier League is so exciting, and it can't be that the Premier League is exciting just because it's been branded right, and that's what I think it is now. I think, if you're a Southampton fan or Huddersfield fan, where do you go? What's the limit? The most that you could expect is 8th, 7th in the league.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's not.
Unless you do a Leicester, which we're feeling is harder than it's ever been.
It was incredible even then.
Yeah.
And I don't think there was a time when I thought that the top 4 would never be broken, but because of the money coming into the game, it became a top 6. And each year you're going to see the same teams vying for the league and and those Champions League places, and that's because of the amount of wealth that's been piled into it. The Champions League became the draw trophy and the most prestigious trophy in world football because of the amount of money attached to it, and that money just filters into the same clubs that qualify for it each year, attracting more players, more marketing deals, extending the gap between the top half and the second half of the league. And I understand when Adam, he's a Brentford fan. He says, I don't really want to be a part of it. He loves his football, and if you love your football club, that's all that's important. Don't let the Sky Sports and whoever else tell you that success is all important, because it ain't. It's really not. It's about community and going along and enjoying your day out.
Absolutely, man.
And you know, I joke with you about Holloway and QPR and that. But you go with your old man. You go to the football club you love. And that's all you need. You don't need all these arseholes that don't give a shit about you and your football club. Very
true. I think that's a nice way to end it. Merry Christmas. Yeah. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Yeah. We hope you've enjoyed this podcast. Subscribe on iTunes. Leave a rating there as well. Let us know your thoughts on the podcast, how we can improve maybe. Download the Fan League app. Join us for the One for the Weekend league. It's always good to have new people join our league, because we need to sort of raise the bar and get up that league table. 10k to be won as well, and that's about it for 2017 for us.
It's been a pleasure.
Yes, mate.
We'll see you on the other side.
See you on the other side.
Download the app and join today.